Hi, this is Dan with Birdines, and this time we have the Grand Seiko SBGH267. Basically, this is a watch that was created to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the high beat 36,000 movement. And basically, one of the knocks against Grand Seiko has been their, conservative designs. With this watch, there's not a boring part about it. If you love Grand Seiko, all their greatest hits, save for the spring drive, are here. But if you have never really considered a Grand Seiko, maybe this is a great watch to consider. So yes, if you love Grand Seiko, this is certainly a watch to consider because it's powered by the 9S85 high beat 36,000 movement. It's got Zaratsu polish, and it's got a beautiful dial, and it's also got an affordable $6,300 price point. So if you're already into Grand Seikos, you're going to be in love with this watch. But what if you're not into Grand Seikos? I'm going to say, thanks to this really, really aggressively styled dial, you're going to love it yourself. So basically, Grand Seiko for the past year or so, with the snowflake, with the peacock, that kind of thing, they've really tried to make inroads with those of us maybe who have been collecting other brands and really haven't touched the Grand Seiko brand. This is really a watch that I think hits it out of the park with people who have never really considered Grand Seiko as an option. I've really just thought of Grand Seiko up to this point as kind of a movement company, with the high beat 36,000 as well as, of course, the spring drive. They're much more of a movement expertise company as opposed to a styling company. This watch really kind of turns it on its head. Sure, it's got the high beat movement, which is, of course, a very cool movement that's kind of similar to the El Primero from Zenith, but this is really a watch that you can kind of wear proudly because it's got this really interesting, as you can see, this really, really interesting finish on the dial. So it actually says 9S on there. Ooh. There it is. So it's a very cool movement, it's a very cool dial that you can kind of wear proudly. Plus, it's got a really deep navy blue that you can that goes with a lot of like jeans, that kind of thing. And plus, blue is a very trendy color in watchmaking these days. So I'd say it's between navy blue and maybe like a steel gray in some lights if you kind of turn it around here. It's really a interesting looking watch, and it's something that you can, if you're more of a style person as opposed to a movement person, this is something that you can kind of wear proudly. For all their technical expertise for Grand Seiko, this has been a brand that's much more about what's inside the case. I think this is changing. You just look at the counterweight here. Look how cool that looks. You can see it. Everything about this watch kind of screams that they're trying to move the brand forward at Grand Seiko, just so that way they can actually try to skim off some enthusiasts from other brands, as opposed to just kind of play to their existing customer base. I think it's a very smart play for the long term for Grand Seiko to try to expand their audience, because obviously Grand Seiko has a very rabid fan base, and they'll always have those people, just like in any sort of car. Like BMW M3 people are always going to be BMW M3 people, but in order to try to get other people to your brand, you always have to kind of reach out to people who have never considered your brand before. So basically the technical specs here, the case diameter is 39.5 millimeters. The thickness is 13 millimeters. It's made out of stainless steel, so it keeps the price down. This watch was made to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the 9S85 high beat movement. Again, this is a really cool watch, and if Grand Seiko is working to improve their image, they're really doing a great job with this timepiece. So if you're looking for an inroad to Grand Seiko, you've never really considered Grand Seiko before, this might be the one to do it. So with that, this is Dan with Bird Eanes, signing off.